Corso today. Vinny is our superstar franchisee in the Westfield, New Jersey area, which is just outside of New York City. As everyone knows, we're in a pretty crazy time of life right now, and Vinny's office is right there in the heart of the storm. And so he probably could share 30 minutes of just trials and tribulations of what's happened in the last couple of months. But I told him we were going to use the next 30 minutes to sort of refrain from all COVID talk because he's had enough of that over the last few weeks. But beyond all that, Vinny has built, Vinny's built an amazing business, strong growth, literally from the start. He has a great teammate there alongside him, his wife, Danielle. She's not able to join us today, but the two of them really make a fantastic team. And they're not just business partners. I am proud to call them some of my best friends in the world. I call him my brother from another mother, because he and I share a lot of similar values and principles. And we may be from totally different parts of the country, but man, I feel a kindred spirit with him. So Vinny, welcome to the validation webinar today with our franchise candidates.
Awesome. Morning or afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm afternoon.
Yeah. So Vinny, we're going to jump right out of the gate and kind of go backwards to those awkward moments when you're in the same position as these guys are, trying to figure out, do I trust these guys enough to partner with them? Do I want to start a cleaning business? Do I want to own a franchise? And kind of take us back to what you were doing before you started Two Maids and a Mop, and then we'll get into what some of the things happen, what some of the choices you made early on and how they impacted you later on. So talk to us about life before Two Maids and a Mop, basically.
Sure. So for 20 years, I basically counted other people's money. So I'm a former CPA. I was in public accounting for about 10 years. And then I transitioned into corporate accounting, and I worked my way up to controller, vice president of finance, and then to eventually a CFO. But prior to that, and Ron, I don't know if I mentioned this to you. Did you know I used to run my family's wedding business? We had a wedding center. We did tuxes and limousines. Did I ever mention that to you?
Yeah, you told me all about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you told me some fun stories of those days. Yeah.
Yeah. So with my accounting and finance background, you would think all of those skills that I learned would have been most beneficial in this business. But to be honest, actually, I look back to when I was 12, 13, 14 years old, and my dad made me go into the basement and clean 50 pairs of tuxedo shoes that I had to clean and disinfect and get them ready to go out for the next turn. That's where I really learned customer service and how to help people. And if you ask what was the most important factor of our success, it's number one, caring about other people. And most importantly, have a really good partner in my wife, Danielle. And if I look at the business and I look at, what are we now? We opened October 2017. And Danielle started this from the ground up. She did everything on her own. I kept my job in corporate America. I was working as a CFO for a local distributor. And we wanted to make sure that this, before I left my job in corporate America, we wanted to make sure that this was viable. And after 6 months, Dan, I left my job, and that was one of the hardest things that I had to do was, make that leap, leave corporate America and do this full time. Because we got to a point that we had to make a really hard decision. Danielle needed help, and we were growing, steadily. So I would say after 6 months, we probably had about 70 to 80 recurring customers, and we were having 3 to 4 solid teams going out every day, and Danielle couldn't handle it. And I ran the numbers, and after I ran the numbers, I said, do I want to hire a full-time manager, or do I want to go all in? And when we went all in, that's when we really exploded, you know. So that's the story.
I
Tell me though if
remember
I missed
a
anything.
lot of key moments.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember originally meeting you, and then
yeah,
being excited, and of course Danielle. And then I remember the day you called me to say, "Hey, I'm leaving corporate America to go join
yeah.
Danielle
I
to build this
remember that
business."
call like it was yesterday.
Yeah, and I hung up the phone and I told everybody Westfield's about to explode. They don't even know it yet, so get
Yeah.
ready. And it's really done nothing but that since then, And so, I know it was a risky move. Like anybody who leaves something that's comfortable and safe, it's always a level of risk there. So, if you don't mind, because these guys that you're talking to are in that same exact position that you're in, so or
Yeah.
we're in it at least. What did you see in the opportunity that gave you enough confidence and trust to make that leap
So
to become
it was
the
several factors. Yeah. So it was several factors. So right, we all have two sides of our brain, right? Left and the right. So I have a very logical and a very structured part, and obviously I did the due diligence and in the Two Maids brand, and from the franchise owners that I spoke to, and everything made sense, and the numbers worked. But then there was another side of me that, and I'll share this with everyone on the call. I could have opened up a business 20 years ago, but I was scared. I had the funding. I had everything. I had the know-how. I had the capital. I had everything. Um, I was just afraid to make that leap. There were several times that I could have went into business in several different areas, and I never pulled the trigger. And it was just at with this opportunity, it felt right on so many different fronts. Financial, um, I was ready. And to be perfectly honest, Ron, from all of my experiences with everyone at home office, um, I really truly feel you guys are partners, and I didn't feel like you were selling me anything. I felt like you were just giving me an opportunity that we could build a business together. And that's really why I did it. So,
Well, I feel the same way. There's a lot of our franchise candidates that come in here that I like, and then there's some that I love. And it was pretty clear it wasn't just me liking you. It was we needed to be in business with you, because I really felt like we could combine both of what we bring to the table to create something pretty special. And that's really what's happened. It's really not been that long. We're only 2+ years into this. And so the rest is still, the best is yet to come, as they say. And so I'm really looking forward to that, even during all the COVID stuff that we're dealing with right now. I know you
yeah.
were in corporate America for the first 6 months, and I know you came in right after that. You and Danielle, your wife, really just uh, put it into another gear after that. But if you don't mind, I know that a lot of people who are thinking about this investment and this franchise opportunity are real nervous and worried about uh, what what life's going to be like for them during those first 6 months to a year. Can you talk to everybody about what that experience was like, from a
Yeah,
financial perspective, even from a psychological and mental perspective?
sure. So from the very beginning, first, we would not be where we are without Danielle. I mean, she's the one who went through all the trials and tribulations and, the whole learning curve. And whenever I have an opportunity to, thank her and recognize her, I always, always do. Um, I kind of had the easy part because when I came in, we had a nice functioning business. And then what I did was just take what was in place, obviously all of the processes and that you guys helped us with during training to put into place. But what I started thinking about was, when I got in, was, okay, how do we scale this? Right? We have 3 and 4 teams now. I already, when I was in, was, all right, when are we going to have 10 teams? When are we going to do $1 million? So from the very beginning, I always set goals for myself, and one of my goals was I wanted to be the fastest growing territory in the Two Maids franchise to get to $1 million. That was my goal right from the get-go. And then, Ron, we've had several conversations. I said, Ron, I don't want 1, I want 3. I want to be the first to have 3 territories doing $1 million, So I'm very good at throwing those carrots out there and then motivating people and then putting in the processes to go get them, But in the beginning, man, it was just hiring. I would say for us, the key was hiring the right people from the get-go. If I could do this all over again, I wish we would have focused on people and training and, what our new initiative now with our customers, making our customers feel special, giving the customers an experience. I listened to that webinar that you had a couple of days ago. What was his name?
David?
Joey?
Yeah. Oh, Joey Coleman. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Joey Coleman. Oh my God, that was awesome. I mean, and I wish I knew about making customers and employees feel special, but I never thought about it in that phased of approach, and I wish we would have, how they say hindsight is 20/20. I wish I would have had that hindsight, in the beginning, because we would have hired the right people. We would have made our customers feel special right from the get-go. I think we would have grown faster and stronger right from the beginning,
Well, you grew pretty fast. So, don't beat yourself up too bad here. And you still got a lot in front of you, like we said earlier. So, we're going to give everybody an opportunity to ask their own questions, but I have just a couple more that I'm mostly just interested in hearing the answers to myself. What are some of talk about the industry? The industry itself is, for the most part, not even considered an industry. When people hear me say residential cleaning industry at the cocktail parties, they go, "What do you mean industry? It's a hobby. It's someone's side job. It's not an industry." But as we all know, it's very much like every other business, and it's got a lot of really cool things, along with all the negative things that people hear about as well. So let's kind of confront those negative things. And what were some of your worries and fears about this industry, and what's been your real life experience within the industry?
So I have to tell you, in the beginning, it was tough. I had so many coworkers, team members, mentors, family members, neighbors, friends say I was absolutely crazy. What are you doing? You're a CFO for a company. You're a former CPA. You have an MBA. What are you doing? You want to start a cleaning business? And I have to tell you, Ron, first couple of months, man, we didn't have the right team members in place. And there were many days that I was out in the field cleaning because I didn't want to cancel jobs. I wanted my customers to know that we were reliable. And when we said we were going to come, we were going to come, but it was just so many trials and tribulations in the beginning. But the hardest part, I think, for me was just believing that I knew we were going to be successful. And once I got past that fear of saying, okay, I'm all in. Once I gave my resignation, that was it. I was in, and I walked into the office the first day, and Danielle sent me out on a move-in. And Ron, I never worked so hard in my life, and I completely failed. The customer was not happy. We ended up having to go do a re-clean, and we had to end up giving back some money. And I said to myself, okay, just because I'm the owner doesn't mean that I don't need to be trained properly, doesn't mean that I don't have to go through the knocks, doesn't mean that I don't have to learn the business. And then I really made a promise to myself that I was going to learn this industry from the ground up. So I actually started out as a cleaner. I cleaned. I worked my way up. Danielle brought me along the training process, just like everyone else. And then once I had that basic knowledge of, okay, this is how you have to do it in the field, then I actually started training. I was the first training manager. And then I was the first office manager. And then I started realizing, once I started joining networking groups, and I think it was you and some of the other franchise owners, Anthony down in Orlando, Lee in Virginia Beach, they were saying, Vinny, what are you doing going out in the field? You know, you got to be shaking hands and kissing babies. That's what you're good at. And Ron, the second I realized that I needed to grow my business, not, you know, do the day to day, that's when we just really started exploding, you know. And it was joining the local networking groups and the Chamber of Commerce and connecting with other business owners in the area. And that's what's getting us through these tough times now. It's because of those relationships that I built from the beginning.
Right.
You know, and many of these relationships that I started 2.5 years ago are now bearing fruit and coming to fruition. And I made a point, just like you saw a lot of the things we're doing on social media, especially now, giving back to the community. It's making my community know that I am an expert in this area. I know what it is to clean and disinfect, you know, and what it means.
Right.
And once I started saying that, okay, that's what I want to be known as, then that's what happened, you know. And when people think that they need
Right.
a house cleaned, that they come to me, you know, and it's more of, okay, how can I help you?
Right. Well, you've got just this relentless, gritty attitude. I guess it's your Brooklyn street smarts that
Yeah.
kind of come out, But I'm super proud of what you've done there, and I can't even during all this, I'm proud. I know that business is a little bit different today than it was just 2 months ago, but
Yep.
and this is our high time. This is springtime. This is
Yep.
supposed to be a boom for us, but you've still proven that that gritty attitude can persevere even in the toughest of times, and we're living through it right now, man.
And good
But
and
I have
bad.
one more.
The good
Yeah, I
and
have
the
one more
bad.
question before we get to some of the other guys who may have some questions, hopefully. So, other than going to some New York Met games together, what's some of the cool things about being a franchisee at Two Maids and a Mop, beyond the free booze at the convention? So.
There you go. So I have to say it's running this ship, you know, and being the captain, and knowing that every day the things that me and Danielle do and decide have a direct impact on the business. And to all the potential or new franchise owners out there, you know, there are times that I'm wrong. You know, the good and bad thing about me, and I'll share my weaknesses as long as my strengths. Ron shared one of my strengths. It's my grit. But one of my weaknesses as well is my grit, because sometimes I can believe in something so wholeheartedly, that regardless of what anyone says or does, I still believe. And there are times that I've had to have Ron and people in corporate office say, Vin, you know, take a step back and think about that. You know, and there were many times that I had to come back and say, you know, I'm sorry. I didn't think that all the way through. Thanks for keeping me in check. And it's not only corporate office. A lot of times, I'll reach out to fellow franchise owners and that I have strong relationships with, and I'll say, can I bounce this off you? What do you think of this? You know, I can't tell you how valuable that is, Ron, knowing that you're not alone. You know, like you have the flexibility of running your business, but then you have, like, obviously there are some things that are non-negotiable, right?
Right.
But then you have some flexibility to run your business, but then you also have that network behind you to know that you're not alone. So that's my experience.
Well, I'll tell you, I've had a lot of triumphant moments in the 17 years since I've been trying to build this brand. But one of the most memorable times for me was sitting in the passenger seat of your car with your kids and wife in the back, and us going to that
Mm.
Mets game together. Man, I felt like part of your family, you know. So I've always wanted our franchisees to feel like they're part of my family. But it was a memorable time for me because it was one of the first times where I felt like I was also part of yours, you know. So
Yep, we
thank you
feel the
for
same
that.
way.
We had a lot of fun that night too. I think the Mets won, so.
Yeah, I think they did.
Which was rare then.
Yes.
All right, so we've got some franchise candidates on the call with us today. Let me unmute some of you guys, and I hope that you have some questions because Benny, man, he's lived through a lot of different things, and he's living through some crazy things right now. So, you know, please take this opportunity to talk with him and ask your own questions. So we've got folks in, I think, Colorado to Milwaukee to Michigan on the call with us today. So you guys are all unmuted and feel free to ask Benny anything you'd like.
Hey, Vinny, this is Colorado. Obvious question. How are you handling, what's the business impact to the virus, and how are you handling getting back to work?
Well, it's probably half of what it was. So I was actually in our morning meeting. We have a morning meeting every day, and corporate office put up these roadmaps for 2020. And for us, D-Day, or the day that we started living this COVID-19, was March. It was Friday, March 13th, which, if my math is right, that was 6 or 7 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So our business, I actually feel that we're very fortunate. We're at about half of what we were prior. So we were sending out 8 to 9 teams every day. And believe it or not, that day that they closed the public schools here in New Jersey, which was March 13th, just to give you an idea, was our busiest day ever. We had 8 full teams go out, and we cleaned, so let's say 8 times 4 was 32. And we did our biggest revenue day ever. It was like over $4,000 just in one day. And then from there, the bottom just dropped out. But then I have to tell you, we had a lot of loyal customers stick with us. We really focused on being there to help. And now I see our customers are starting to come back, and my wife, Danielle, does an amazing job staying connected to our recurring customers. Because if you know anything about this business, the residential side, which your recurring customers, is your bread and butter. And I'm, Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm one of the few territories that actually had a pretty significant commercial side of the business prior.
Right. Yeah, there's a couple, but you're one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to tell you guys, I follow our model. I never tried to get commercial jobs. They just came to me through my relationships, and it worked. Like, we're cleaning a business owner's home, and they're like, "Oh, I have a business. Would you be interested in cleaning it?" And my mindset is, our model is Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. We can clean almost anything if you stay in our model. So that side of the business has actually really increased. Especially on the common areas of residential buildings and stuff like that. We picked up, I would say, about 10 to 15 commercial jobs, lawyers' offices, doctors' offices. I'm doing a distribution center. I was able to actually get several jobs for other people in the franchise. And Ron, actually, remember I was able to get that job for that franchise owner in Michigan?
Yeah.
I may
That was
be
cool.
working on a deal, Jackrabbit Sports. I'm working on a deal to clean their retail outlets. They're a nationwide athletic company. So I may be working on a deal to feed some business to a lot of other franchise owners, so.
You're something.
Yeah, so that's phenomenal. Thank you for that. Are you um, uh, equipping your crews with, masks and gloves and all that kind of good stuff?
I mean, even better than that. Terry, you said?
Yes.
So Terry, last week, I donated 24 bottles of our hospital grade disinfectant to our local police department. So it starts with our PHCs, our professional house cleaners, but the same processes and procedures that we're using following the CDC guidelines, I'm using those. And I'm bringing it's our job, going back to one of the questions that Ron asked earlier, what do you think about this industry? It's my job and our job to educate the public. And this morning in our morning meeting, I shared with my PhDs, and I empowered them to say, guys, you are the subject matter experts in this. They're trained to how to use our PPE correctly, how to clean first, disinfect second, how to educate the customers how we sanitize all of our equipment in between jobs and at the end of every day, to make our customers feel safe. And I said to them, guys, this is, we talk about personal hygiene, talking about, keeping the hand sanitizer in the cars and, disinfecting your cars and practice social distancing. And, this is just a new way of life, not only in our business, but for everyone. We need to, it's our job, knowing what we know now, to preach it to the world. So I'll get off my
Yeah.
soapbox now.
No. I appreciate that. I totally agree with you. I think this is not a short-term thing. I think this may affect this business significantly, and that this is going to be a long-term change in society. Is just disinfectant and cleanliness, and so yeah, I just was wondering.
I think it's validating, to be honest. If you ask my opinion, I think it's validating our industry as a whole. I know a lot of people are going through tough times now, but I had this conversation with Ron and several other people in the last couple of weeks. I said, I'm ramping up. I'm getting ready for the tsunami to come,
Yeah.
because, we did dip a little bit, but number one, I'm grateful to be in business. I'm grateful to have a business. I'm grateful for my customers, but we're preparing now for the after,
Yeah.
for the light at the end of the tunnel. And
Yeah.
if you get stuck on the now, what we're going through now, yeah, you need to understand it. You need to embrace it. You need to accept it. But, I'm on board with, I'm getting ready for the after, because, I'm hoping, a month and a half from now, 4 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now, I'm like, I want to say, not only are we doing 10 teams solid every day, I can't wait to open up my second territory in Essex County, which I signed through all of this, and I was talking to my wife yesterday. I said, honey, I think we're going to have the opportunity to open up even sooner, because the demand is going to be so high for people who know what they're doing.
Right. Right. Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that.
All right, Gino, Scott, not to put you guys on the spot, but we've got a few more minutes if you'd like to ask a couple of final questions here.
Sure, this is Gino. You may not be the right person to ask, but maybe you are. I'll be in a position where I can't go in full time. I'm going to have to do this semi-absentee, and I know that's not what your wife and you did.
Yeah.
But what do you see as the feasibility of that to start out with?
I think you're going to have to put someone in place that you're going to trust the farm to. And,
Okay.
what's the old saying? Trust but verify.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to trust them, but then you're going to have things in place that, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing every day. And you're going to have key, what comp plans and things like that. You're going to have to set it up to have, KPIs and, set up the compensation plan for your office manager that when the business is successful, they're going to be successful.
Okay. Yeah, to be a little more specific, I can be there Tuesday mornings, Wednesday, and every other Friday. So it's not like I'm totally gone, but
Yeah.
I won't be able to be there every day. I won't be at the morning meetings all the time.
Yeah.
I won't be there at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
I won't be answering the phones a lot, but I can be there some of the time.
And you probably don't think of it this way, Vinny, but you did kind of manage the
Yeah, I
business
did.
absentee the first 6 months.
I did. And all I saw was the financials, but I didn't really understand the business. I didn't, it wasn't until I started working and doing it that I really understood, what it was.
Okay. Thank you.
And I would say, when you're interviewing for your manager role, and I do this here every day, and now I've kind of taken a step back with the hiring process. I let Danielle and our training manager handle it. I asked 2 important questions. Number 1, would you trust this person to clean your home? Yes or no? They're only allowed to answer yes or no. No maybes allowed. And would you invest $1,000 in this person? Yes or no? Would you take $1,000 out of and now I'm only talking about a PHC. I'm not talking about an office manager. If it was an office manager, I probably would up the ante. I would say, would you invest $2,500 in this person? Would you invest $5,000 in this person? Because that's the real indicator, and I would focus more on having the skills, not necessarily the specific knowledge, because essentially either the person has the ability to serve or they don't. If you look at me and our model and why we're able to create a family here, it's because I hire people that are able to serve. I was born with that. My dad's a retired New York City police officer. My mom was a New York City teacher. They taught me how to serve. I came to Two Maids with that mentality. And then Two Maids just taught me all the specifics, and I put all the pieces together, but I was always able to serve others.
Okay. Very good.
Hi, Vinny. This is Scott from Michigan.
Hey,
Appreciate
Scott.
all the great info that you've passed along today. I've attended a few of these now. I ask a different question each time.
So, Scott, I'm going to put you on the spot, Scott. Am I the most interesting franchise owner you've met so far?
What's been very impressive is that all the franchisees have been great to listen to.
Okay.
All of them, including you, of course.
Okay, thank you. I need to be validated too sometimes.
So the question I have for you today is, you mentioned that right now you have 1 territory and you're about to add a second. What kind of a location do you have? Are you in light industrial, or are you in a retail area?
Meaning my physical location?
Yes.
So my physical location is Westfield. If you know anything about New Jersey, I'm about 15 minutes, 20 minutes west of Newark Airport. So I am, if you look at my heat map, Ron, how green is it?
It's as dark as green, and then I remember when you were in Birmingham for Discovery Day, and we put that on the screen, and I was totally.
It looked like a forest.
Yeah, I was just, like shocked to see how much money's there.
Yeah. So we're in the heart of a very high-end, influential residential hub that value local small businesses. And I just happen to live here, and if I tell you, I live in the smallest little shack surrounded by mansions. So I have the smallest house on the block, but it's all residential, and there are some, a majority of our jobs are within 20 minutes of my office. So obviously I was the first franchise owner in New Jersey, so I got a pick of the land, but I chose Westfield. It just happened to be the epicenter of my territory. So the longest commute we have is 20 minutes,
That's great. Are you in a light industrial area?
There are some parts, yeah. There are some. So literally within 15 minutes, 10 minutes of me is several different industrial parks.
Okay.
But your immediate one, there's a healthcare. There's like a urgent care or something. Right
Yeah,
in front
I'm
of it.
literally
Yeah.
in one. So
Yeah.
where my office is located, it's called the Summit Medical Building. So I'll share a story. I was about to sign a lease that would have put me out of business, and it kept me up at night, and we just couldn't find the right spot. And for any of you that are going through the tribulations of finding the right location, me and Danielle were about to sign a lease, and it was way too expensive, and we had a horrible landlord. And it wasn't the right space if I compare to where we are now. Now I'm on the first level. I have my own separate entrance. I'm in a very well-known medical center, which now I can't tell you how many. It's one of, being classified as an essential business. Most of my town is dead except for this hub where I am. And I park my van right in the front of the van, and I can't tell you how many hundreds of thousands of people pass it every day. And they see two maids and a mop, and they see that my van's there every day. And I can't tell you how many people call because they see us because they're coming to the medical offices to begin with. And we service many of the doctors and the medical staff that work in this building. So yeah, there is some parts light industrial, but it's mostly residential.
Okay. Great info. Thank you, Vinny.
All right, Vinny. Well, I know you've got to get back to
Yeah.
the realities of our world that we're dealing
Yeah.
with right now, but I do want to thank you and just want to kind of end with one final question that I ask everybody. And if you were to go back 2.5 years or so when you were considering this franchise opportunity and you had to do this all over again, would you do it again?
100% yes. I would just be a little smarter.
Well, you've been pretty smart, man, and I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, I'm proud to call you a friend first, a business partner pretty close second. You make me proud, and I'm honored to be in business with you. So, thanks for
Awesome.
your time today, and we'll talk again.
All right. Hopefully I was helpful. All right. Bye.
All right, talk later.